Hello, world. My name is Brandon Paterson, and I am going to recite my spoken word titled One God. I hope you enjoy. I grew up thinking God was a thunderous judge without remorse, an entity in the sky that'd strike down if I ever sinned or came up short. The punitive sort, the Western Lord, who kept celestial records and swung his gavel with force. I was taught I'd be forsaken if I didn't believe for certain, or didn't always worship or live my life in service. I thought I'd meet Satan if I didn't go to church and if I wedded my soulmate but didn't marry a virgin. A childhood of fear led to a dark abyss, where nihilism chiseled me into a hollow atheist. From emptiness, I rebuilt beliefs brick by brick and thank God in theological reflection for this resurgence. Now, before I attempt to futilely name the nameless and claim this God exists, I get it. It's tainted. Mere words on one page can't paint the sacred. The famous Tao called Tao is not Tao is ageless. So please, bow your head and listen with patience as I process. Concepts of the ineffable my mind can hardly taste, let alone digest. Like who's God? What's God? Is he a he or an energy? Is God real or a facade of the highest form of truth, love, beauty, and peace? Who's God? What's God? Is God to be? Not an entity, not a being at all, but the beingness behind all beings? Who do I believe? The West or the East? The shamans, the rabbis, the monks, or the priests? And what's a belief? Shall I look upward to a monotheistic deity and see spirituality as transcendence into a never-ending Christ-like height I cannot reach? Or shall I gaze inward, surrendering to the consciousness beyond the me, and reach no self, until I'm untethered where enlightenment suffocates the air I breathe, because if I live too human, I might never come home to consciousness. Yet if I live too deep in spirit, can I savor connections that come from separateness? To be vague, the West is invested in the separateness and identity formation, teaching personal redemption and promised individual salvation. Yet the East is settled in ideas of interconnectedness, the collectiveness, teaching renunciation and the returning of innate wholeness. But wait, I'm a human being, so can I let a both and in? I'm a human being, and the nectar in that phrase is the hyphen, the connector between words that signifies a connector between worlds, where form and the formless forge a fire with flickering flames swirled. Or as Ernest Becker says, I am a god with an anus. Half free and half designed, half human and half being, half flesh and half divine, half identity, half observer, half ego and half soul, half aware, half unconscious, half broken and half whole, half a limited, bleak, finite, decaying body, and half a limitless, infinite potentiality to embody, half living as worldly householder and half sage within, on a journey of both self-transcendence and self-realization. Is it so? Are all of these dualities two sides of the same coin, and thus God is the unicity that makes all opposites conjoined? No longer do I see a God of indifference living in neutrality. I see that layer underneath, God as the unicity behind duality. Who's God? What's God? Is God then oneness? Like how the Sufis view the many as expressions of the one bliss? Like Rumi's, we are not a drop in the ocean, but the ocean in a drop. Like Meister Eckhart taught, the soul's called to dissolve in God's oneness. See, Taoists emphasize holism and unity translated as oneness. Islam calls it Tawheed, the recognition of God's absolute and indivisible oneness. Hindus, Brahman, the ultimate reality or ultimate oneness. And clearly Advaita Vedanta's non-dualism fits the description of oneness. So since the divine is depicted as non-binary in Hindu scripts, then this puts forth that God is not a man, but is instead this isness. That God is not a who, but a what. And not a what as so much as the foundation to all of this, the nothingness that contains all that is. God's grace then does permeate through everything that exists and is the flowering fullness and the emptiness, the void that brings all into existence. It's the spaciousness, my mentor Jay would say, is primordial consciousness. In this case, God is near and far, present and absent, massively transcendent and intimately immanent, because our brains, though, only live in the dualistic physical plane. It can't explain these unified metaphysical rifts, since our minds only know by dichotomous comparing and contrasting. The truth of God can only ever be eclipsed. Perhaps this is where art comes in, to be the bridge between gaps, where poems, paintings, and songs make these two worlds collapse. As art not only informs us, art forms in us and reforms us, and right now has reshaped the ways I relate to others, self, the world, God, and love. Oh, thank you, Lord, for every moment I can light up in your infinite torch, and for bringing forth the depths of my being through your infinite force. Thank you, Lord, for inviting my core to soar towards the infinite north. And thank you, Lord, for guiding my soul towards the core of the one infinite source. Thank you.